I promise we'll start in right away with our candidates to allow them 3 minutes to give an opening statement, and going alphabetically, we will start with James. So please.
Well, good morning. My name is James Olsen, and I am a candidate for the 23rd Legislative District, position number 2. A little quick background. Actually, it's going to be a two-phase introduction. You'll see when I pivot. Retired Coast Guard, 30 years. Command experience, served in the Pentagon, served various commandants, had 5 command roles, been involved in Coast Guard streamlining, private business owner. I own rental property, affordable rental property in Kitsap and King County, taking care of people who are disabled, or handicapped, affordable rents. I have 4 children, son, just came back from Afghanistan, home for the weekend, actually home 14 days, after traveling halfway around the world. Let's see. I think I'll leave it at that. I call your attention to my pamphlet. Goes through it. Most everybody here knows me or knows about me. I invite you to take a look at. Also, I have a series of YouTube videos that I call people. I call 10 manifestos. Very interesting. You might take a look at them. All right. There's a serious matter I must raise. I firmly believe personal character, moral clarity, and courage are essential for military leadership, as my 30 years demonstrated, and elected office. Over the past several months on Bainbridge exclusively, the place both my opponent, Ms. Rolfes, and I call home, there's been a venomous, organized campaign of intimidation and slander against me, a candidate for state legislative office, and my family. This campaign has been waged in the Bainbridge Review and on the streets of our Bainbridge Island. To date, I've filed 8 police reports, with losses well in excess of 80 signs defaced on Bainbridge, including intimidation and vandalism at my residence on Fort Ward. I have repeatedly sought a public statement decrying this from Police Chief Feldman, Kobe Manager Bauer, or the Kobe Council. They've been silent. I believe my opponent, Ms. Rolfes, the representative of the 23rd Legislative District, has been coyly silent on these infringements of my constitutional rights of free speech, security, and safety in my home. The corrosive and slanderous attacks have come from individuals self-describing themselves as Rolfes admirers. I have seen no public statement from Ms. Rolfes decrying the sleazy slanders from her admirers. Ms. Rolfes has been notified by my campaign of the constant and unrelenting vandalism of my political signs, while her signs, sitting next to mine, are unscathed. Ms. Rolfes has to see with her own eyes the Olsen sign vandalism as she drives over the island. And I left the signs up for people to ponder. Not a word from her or to the community or her constituents decrying the attack on the body politic. The effect now and long term is to chill discussion and engagement from independents and Republicans. Moral character means standing up for all constituents, even if the issue is your opponent's First Amendment rights. Moral fortitude is standing up to the mob rule of vandalism and intimidation and demanding a cease and desist. Ms. Rolfes has consciously elected to remain silent.
Thank you.
This is certainly not leadership.
Thank you.
And I was just 2 sentences shy. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I do my role is
that is fine.
Okay, Christine, you get 3 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you for having us. Thank you for everybody for coming here this morning. I was assuming we were going to talk about issues, and the sign issue is interesting. I do want to say, and my opponent has heard this from my campaign, that our signs are vandalized and stolen too. And I have friends who drive around the county and replace them. And I have never found it necessary to file a police report for missing and vandalized signs. But I'd be happy to work with my opponent on a mutual statement to the people of our district, asking for that. In the meantime, I would like to talk about the work of a representative for the Legislative District 23. I've been representing the area for 2 terms. I'm finishing up my 4th year as a citizen legislator, and I've worked really hard to represent the diverse interests of our district. We're Bainbridge Island, as you heard from Mr. Olsen, as well as the area from Hansville to East Bremerton and Minette. And I focused my efforts over the last 3 to 4 years on things that bring us all together, things that are important to all of us, and that represent our shared values. I've focused a lot of attention on the ferry system and bringing accountability and reform to that government agency. I have kids in the school system right now, and so I share the concern of parents and taxpayers of whether our schools are producing the kinds of outcomes that we need to make all of our kids successful throughout our next couple of generations. We are sorely underrepresented in this county as far as higher education goes. It's very, very difficult for people to get higher education on the Kitsap Peninsula. And I have worked with Olympic College, the trustees, and the people of this county to bring some four-year degree programs to Olympic College, as well as to invest in worker retraining and vocational and technical training that our area needs. I have worked tirelessly with other legislators to support our military families and our veterans issues, and that's become especially important over the last decade. We've brought attention to the needs of our seniors, our most vulnerable citizens, our foster children, and victims of violent crimes. And I've done all of that by working with individuals and organized nonprofits in our area to bring our message and our voice to Olympia and to come up with solutions that don't cost a lot of money but make our county a better place and make the state a better place. You know, the biggest issue facing all of us today is the economy and the need to create jobs. That will continue to be a focus of the legislature over the next 2 years, and I hope to be back there representing this area and providing a strong voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So staying with you, Christine, we'll start with questions. So you get a 1 minute answer, and we'll start right out with a question from the audience. Member asks, I do not agree with any of your major positions. How will you, if elected, represent me or listen to and consider my opinions?
So I'm going to assume that's directed at both of us.
That's correct, it is.
You know, that is a fact of being a representative. You get to vote yes or no on issues, and all of the time there are people who disagree with the way you voted. It's to some extent it's a no-win situation. What I truly enjoy about the process is listening to all the voices, moderating my opinion. I think a lot of you have seen me actually change my opinion after hearing from people. I constantly tell people that I meet, that people say, you know, I'm never going to vote for you, but, you know, thanks for coming to my door, or thanks for the job you're doing. We know that it's, you know, a lot of work. I constantly tell people, I represent you. Let me know what your opinions are. I can't represent you if I don't know. And I think that there are people in this room that I may not agree with, that may not agree with me all of the time, but I hope that they can see that, that their opinions matter, and it's our job to bring people together.
Thank you. James, same question?
Okay, so as to the fact that there might be people here or the places that don't agree with any of my opinions or my positions, one thing that I think is very important is to have opinions and to have positions and have a clear concept, have a moral grounding as to where you're going. I've worked in the Coast Guard. I can listen to people. I can listen to my superiors. I can listen to my juniors. I have worked in the community. I'm an intelligent person. I've got a backbone, and I stand up for things. And people can be persuaded, and people can listen. I too have been knocking at the doors in Paulsbo, Kingston, and places like that. And one thing that troubles me, as far as not agreeing with me, first of all, never heard of me, but what the redeeming value is they've never heard of my opponent either. And they're very willing to listen to the position. They agree with me that Washington State is in a dire fiscal crisis, and we face a $3.8 billion budget shortfall. They don't like it. They're listening to me.
Thank you. And staying with you now, James, and moving forward, the next question is, while Mr. Olsen is a retired military officer, Representative Rolfes fought for 2 years as sponsor of the Interstate Military Compact for military school kids. Given the huge economic impact of the military in Kitsap and statewide, what would you do to help continue this relationship?
Well, I served 30 years honorably with the military. While not a warrior, I was a Coast Guard officer, and we did a fine, fine job. I have a deep, deep sense of what it means for the military and the military families to have people serve. I'm in their court. I will do everything I can to help them. And first and foremost that we need to do is to have a sound education system, Secondly, what we need to do is we have returning veterans, like my son, who just came back, I mean, temporarily, to find jobs. If we continue on the course we're going, these fine veterans are coming back with a fabulous job setting, and they have no jobs, or very limited jobs. I will work to take care of all citizens, including the military. No more, no less, but they do have a very warm spot in my heart here.
Thank you. Christine?
So the question is what we would do to continue working on the military families compact.
Correct.
One of the pieces of legislation that I championed along with other legislators from the Kitsap Peninsula was an agreement that Washington State would work with other states to make it easier for families when they are transferred by the military from one state to another or one school district to another, to make it easier for their kids to transition to new schools. And so that means among states streamlining requirements for immunizations, for graduation requirements, the age that kids enter kindergarten, all sorts of things, whether kids are in a gifted program in one school in one state or a special education program in another state, making sure that they qualify for those same services when they're transferred. It required a lot of coordination. It requires a lot of cooperation with other states and around the region.